The Galactic Council spire drifted above Heliox 9 like a floating cathedral of metal and atmosphere, its translucent walls capturing the light of 3 distant suns. Within its central chamber, 600 species gathered across tiered platforms that curved in a spiral toward the central dais. Conversations flickered in dozens of dialects, sweet, high-pitched trills, grinding metallic hums, low reverberations that trembled through the floor. The moment Commander Lyra Hale entered, all of it sharpened into pointed attention. Her boots struck the polished obsidian walkway with a measured cadence. She didn't carry armor, weapons, or any ceremonial ornamentation. Only a dark, fitted diplomatic uniform with a single crest over her heart, a silver line splitting into 3 branches, Earth's emblem for strategic balance. Most delegates saw simplicity. The few who studied humanity saw the warning. Lyra reached the central podium. Her gaze lifted to the amphitheater of alien faces, scaled, feathered, translucent, crystalline, and altogether dismissive. At the executive tier sat High Strategist Vorkol, his massive frame coiled in his command throne, eyes burning a greenish glow beneath a jagged crown of bone. His smirk deepened the moment hers remained unchanged. "Commander Hale," he said, amplifying his voice through chamber channels, "Earth returns to warn us of phantom threats again. We anticipated today might be entertaining." Waves of laughter rolled around her, several species mimicking human gestures mockingly. Lyra let the noise settle. When she spoke, her voice remained calm enough to unnerve anyone truly listening. "Strategist Vorkol," she replied, "this is not a warning about possibility. It is a confirmation of action. Your military branch has deployed gravitic suppressor arrays along the Terran boundary. Their signatures match the destabilization patterns recorded yesterday by Aegis Halo and the Solis Deep Array." Vorkol leaned forward. "The Council authorizes defensive posturing when necessary. Terran paranoia is not grounds for accusation." Lyra projected a holofield. Rings of data spiraled into view, gravitational shear readings, pulse wave analyses, and timestamp logs with Council fleet insignia embedded in the metadata. Several delegates shifted uneasily. Others whispered, surprised the humans could track technology classified above Level 9 secrecy. "The evidence speaks for itself," Lyra said. "Your arrays are armed, calibrated, and synchronized for a real deployment. This device, once activated, will cripple every vessel Earth positions in border space. Such aggression cannot be disguised behind diplomatic phrasing." More laughter, though nervous undertones threaded through the chamber now. Vorkol's voice sharpened. "Your species overestimates its importance. Council operations are not required to seek Terran approval." Lyra didn't blink. "Council operations are required to maintain treaty compliance. The Orion Arm Accords forbid strategic gravitic suppression within 7 planetary units of member systems. Your arrays violate that clause without question." A rust-colored alien from the 4th tier raised a trembling limb. "Is Earth suggesting the Dominion intends to strike them?" Vorkol snarled, "Silence." Then he refocused on Lyra. "Commander, Earth joined the Council with promises of cooperation. Instead, you arrive year after year with accusations wrapped in threats. Are we meant to cower before a species barely 3 centuries into interstellar presence?" More mocking laughter echoed. Lyra allowed it. Noise proved nothing. When the room dimmed for a brief moment, a minor power fluctuation, the delegates glanced upward. Lyra didn't move. Her stillness radiated a quiet authority that made several species turn their eyes away despite themselves. "Strategist," she said, "Earth is not here to threaten. We are here to prevent catastrophe. You underestimate the consequences of activating that device." Vorkol spread his arms. "Enlighten us. What unimaginable terror will your world unleash? Another speech? A sanctions vote you fail to pass? An angry letter, perhaps?" Lyra shifted the holodisplay. A second set of readings appeared, this time showing the suppressor's projected field collapse if pushed beyond safe output. "The device is unstable. If initiated at full strength near Terran space, gravitational layering will fold into itself and collapse into a localized distortion field. The effect will not remain at the border. It will expand. Your ships will suffer catastrophic failure within minutes. And the distortion will persist for hours. Her words rippled through the chamber like static under the skin. Vorkol barked a laugh, deep and resonant. Your attempt to frighten the Council is crude. The suppressor is flawless. You humans fabricate problems to justify your militarization. Lyra didn't raise her tone. This is your final moment to reconsider. Is that a threat? Vorkol asked, leaning forward like a predator smelling weakness. It is a fact, she answered. The chamber quieted. Not because they believed her. Because they recognized something in her eyes, an absence of fear that only came from someone who had already accepted the cost of whatever came next. A representative from the Avian Lyrics Collective fluttered anxiously. Strategist, perhaps we should review the readings. No, Vorkol snapped. The Council will not bend because a human claims danger. We move forward. The chamber lights brightened as Council protocols activated. A holographic ballot manifested in the air. Every delegate cast a vote with a gesture or neural pulse. The results materialized in seconds. Unanimous, continue operations. Reject Terran objection. Vorkol smiled with triumph. The Council has spoken. Lyra absorbed the outcome without visible reaction. A soft exhale was her only acknowledgement. Very well, she said. But understand what you chose. Vorkol's grin widened. Perhaps next time, Commander, you will arrive with humility. Lyra stepped away from the podium. Earth's restraint is humility. But restraint has limits. She turned toward the exit as murmurs rose around her. Some delegates mocked her posture, others eyed her departure with unease, sensing the shift beneath her calm demeanor. Only one voice, barely above a whisper, carried from the upper tiers, spoken by a crystalline elder whose species studied human psychological evolution. They have warned us before, the elder murmured. And each time, they meant every word. Lyra paused at the chamber threshold. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Her final words carried through the hall with a weight far heavier than any shouted threat. This was Earth's warning. There will not be another. The doors sealed shut behind her, and for the first time in hours, the chamber fell into an unsettled silence. It lingered. It grew. And somewhere, deep within the Council's collective instincts, an ancient fear stirred. They had laughed. But they all felt it now. The quiet, unmistakable sense that something had shifted. And the galaxy itself had begun to hold its breath. Earth's orbital command station, Aegis Halo, drifted above the blue curve of the planet like a ring of polished steel, silent yet vigilant. Its interior hummed with layered systems, tactical arrays, quantum processors, and the low rhythmic pulse of long-range sensors reading distant stars. The structure projected a calm exterior, but beneath its surface, urgency spread through corridors as crews reviewed the Council's vote. Commander Lyra Hale entered the command deck. Transparent boards displayed shifting data streams, fleet signatures, gravitational mapping, energy feeds matching the suppressor's buildup near Terran space. Officers looked up the moment she stepped in. Her controlled composure steadied them more than any speech could. Status, Lyra requested. Her second-in-command, Aaron Voss, appeared beside a projection table. Tall, sharp-eyed, and unshakably loyal, he embodied the strategic mind of Earth's defense. He pointed to an expanding ripple signature along the outer grid. They're charging the arrays, Aaron said. Output rising faster than expected. Lyra studied the readings. The waveforms vibrated with a rhythm impossible to mistake. Vorkol intends to activate them sooner than predicted. He wants to corner us before we regroup, Aaron replied. He thinks speed gives him advantage. Lyra tapped a rotating model of the suppressor fields, watching dark layers of gravity fold in simulated patterns. Speed won't save him from physics. Aaron looked at her carefully. We need to initiate contingency protocols. And we need your authorization. She turned away from the projection, facing the panoramic viewport where Earth's curvature filled the horizon. The planet seemed peaceful from here, clouds drifting across oceans, sunlight spilling over continents. Yet beneath that serenity lived billions unaware of the Council's escalating gamble. We should give them one last chance, Lyra said. Aaron pressed his lips together. Another warning will be ignored. You saw their vote. Yes, she answered quietly. I did. He hesitated. Lyra, if the arrays activate at full strength, they'll tear our border fleets apart. They'll damage Council ships too, but Vorkol will accept those losses if it means crippling us. You know this. I know, she replied. Aaron approached the center console and pulled up a sealed authorization screen. Then we need the Axiom Pulse online. A silence sharpened between them. Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. Prepare it, but do not charge it until I confirm. Aaron exhaled slowly, not satisfied but accepting the order. Understood. He left to begin preparations. Lyra turned back to the viewport, her reflection faint in the glass. She saw her own steady posture, but inside her mind stirred memories not often revisited. The last time Earth tested the Axiom Pulse was during classified research on the outskirts of the Proxima boundary. A miniature version of the device had destabilized a moon-sized rock, reducing it to a mist of inert particles without heat or explosion. It rewrote local physics so precisely that matter simply unraveled. The potential for destruction frightened every scientist involved. Lyra had been present during that test. She remembered the moment the pulse activated, the way space dimmed without losing light, how every sound vanished, how her breath felt suspended in air as though held between moments. She remembered the quiet after the rock dissolved, an unnatural calm that pressed against her thoughts. Earth didn't celebrate the invention. They approached it with caution, almost reverence, understanding that power without restraint corrupted civilizations. A soft tone interrupted her reflection. Commander, the communications officer called. Encrypted message from the covert reconnaissance team. They've infiltrated the Dominion's internal network. Display, she said. A hidden feed appeared, schematics, logs, shipment routes, and classified confirmations. Lyra scanned the data quickly. The Council hadn't merely positioned gravitic arrays, they'd synchronized them with a secondary field stabilizer capable of expanding the suppressor's reach across several sectors. Their deployment is deliberate, Lyra said. Not defensive. Not experimental. Aaron returned as the feed expanded. They're preparing a coordinated strike. Vorkol always claimed humans misunderstood power. Now he's trying to make that belief a reality. One flaw, Lyra replied. He assumes we'll react the way every other species reacted when threatened. And we never do, Aaron said. Lyra closed the feed. Send the data to all command branches. Keep copies offline. Prepare failsafe systems. Aaron nodded. Axiom Pulse calibration is underway. Energy levels will rise slowly to avoid detection. Lyra shifted her attention to a holographic map displaying Earth's border fleets. Dozens of vessels, sleek, dark, angular, held their positions with calm precision. Their formation adjustments appeared subtle, but the underlying choreography revealed an organized discipline that no adversary fully understood. Every ship aligned like a synchronized heartbeat. Has the fleet been briefed? She asked. Minimal disclosure, Aaron responded. They know the Council escalated. They don't know the specifics. Good, she said. We avoid panic by avoiding unnecessary details. One officer, younger than the rest, stepped forward cautiously. Commander Hale, will this lead to war? Lyra regarded the officer, not with coldness, but with measured clarity. War begins when reason ends. We haven't reached that point yet. But if they activate the suppressor, then we respond, Lyra said. And the response will end the confrontation without opening fire. The officer didn't understand, but he nodded respectfully and returned to his station. Aaron approached once more. The Council isn't slowing down. Their fleets are forming a lattice around the arrays. They believe we won't challenge them. Lyra folded her hands behind her back. They believe we fear the Council's collective strength. Aaron raised an eyebrow. Do we? No, she said simply. We fear what happens to the galaxy if we unleash the pulse without necessity. He sighed, relieved by her certainty. Then what's your next move? Lyra looked over the entire command deck, her officers working with precision, her world hanging in the balance, the distant signatures of Council fleets swelling like a coming storm. We wait until their intent is undeniable, Lyra said. If they cross the threshold, we neutralize them without harming a single life. But the Council must be the one to step into that line. Our intervention will shift the balance of the galaxy. It must be justified beyond debate. Aaron nodded. You're playing for history, not victory. I'm playing for equilibrium, she corrected. Another alert pulsed through the deck, this one sharper. Aaron checked the feed. Lyra, the gravitic arrays are nearing full charge. The chamber dimmed slightly as orbital systems compensated for rising strategic power loads. Crews steadied themselves. Lyra inhaled once, letting the breath settle like an anchor. Prepare final authorization sequence, she said. If they initiate the strike, we activate. Aaron stared at her. And the moment after activation? Lyra's gaze didn't waver from the distant fleets. The galaxy learns what Earth tried to avoid teaching. The moment the gravitic suppressor arrays reached full charge, the starfield around Terran space trembled. Light warped along thin seams, bending into faint spirals that flickered across sensor displays. On Aegis Halo, officers froze as readings spiked past safe thresholds. The suppressor's imminent activation left no margin for interpretation. Aaron turned to Lyra, voice controlled but tight. They've crossed the threshold. Lyra didn't hesitate. Begin the broadcast. A comms officer patched her signal across all Council channels. Holographic displays flickered with static as her image stabilized, calm, centered, and unmistakably resolute. Delegates across the galaxy leaned closer, startled by the sudden override. This is Commander Lyra Hale of Earth, she began. The suppressor arrays are active. Deactivate them immediately. This is your final opportunity to prevent collapse of your own fleets. In the Council chamber, her projection hovered above the central dais. Murmurs erupted. Some species watched with alarm, others scoffed, assuming another human plea. Vorkol rose slowly, a sneer pulling at the corners of his mouth. Earth continues its theatrics, he said, projecting confidence for those who now doubted him. Your fear does not move us, Commander. Lyra's expression didn't shift. This is not fear. This is certainty. Shut them down. Vorkol lifted his arm, signaling for Council security to terminate the broadcast. It didn't respond. Lyra glanced away from her screen long enough to instruct the Halo technicians, lock out their override. Maintain transparency. The Council's systems complied with her interference, sealing their broadcast controls under a shimmering red lock. Lyra returned her attention to the galaxy. You have seconds, strategist. Vorkol roared, Human, you do not command us. His voice echoed in the chamber as the suppressor arrays surged with final preparatory charge. Their gravitic fields coiled inward like tightening muscles. Even the Council delegates nearest the activation zone felt a faint pull, the air vibrating against their lungs. Aaron stepped closer to Lyra. We need your authorization. If they fire. They already did, Lyra answered quietly. Then she lifted her hand and spoke with a calm that stilled the entire command deck. Activate the Axiom Pulse. Aegis Halo's core dimmed. Power rerouted through superconductive channels embedded in the station's structure. Every monitor flickered. The pulse apparatus, nested deep within the station's substructure, expanded through quantum states too complex to visualize. Space around it compressed into a silent, shimmering haze. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the pulse unfolded. A ripple of altered physics swept across the system. It moved without sound, yet every soul felt its presence, an invisible tide-bending reality. Council fleets positioned along Earth's borders froze in place as their suppressor arrays collapsed into inert frames. Gravity inverted in controlled pockets, rendering thrusters non-functional. Energy conduits separated from their own charge, leaving ships powered but harmless. The suppressor field dissolved like a mirage. In the council chamber, the shock settled slowly. Dozens of delegates clutched their seats as projected data streamed across their individual channels: fleet immobility, weapon nullification, system paralysis without hull damage or casualties. Every combat function across the Dominion strike flotilla returned a single message. Status: disabled by unknown Terran interference. Vorkol stared at the results, disbelief cracking through his arrogance. Impossible, he whispered. No species could. Lyra's projection shimmered above him. You were warned. Her tone carried no triumph. Only finality. Vorkol slammed a fist against the console. You have violated treaties. You deployed an illegal gravitic weapon, she replied. Earth neutralized it without harming your crews. If we intended destruction, you would know it. Across the upper tiers, panic and awe intertwined. Several delegates rose, their voices trembling with realization. They disabled an entire fleet without damage. What technology allows this? Others whispered, no war doctrine accounts for this capability. Lyra didn't elaborate. Revealing too much risk destabilizing more than just political balance. You laughed at our warnings, she said, and believed humanity sought conflict. We do not. But we will not be cornered. In the chamber, silence deepened, heavy enough to bend posture and pride. Vorkol's confidence drained as he witnessed representatives turning against him. For decades he had built dominance on intimidation, but now that foundation collapsed with brutal clarity. Lyra continued, the Axiom Pulse will remain dormant unless provoked again. Earth will not initiate aggression. But let today stand as proof, your assumptions about us no longer reflect reality. One elder delegate, crystalline and ancient, leaned forward. Commander Hale, will you share the principles behind this device? No, Lyra said. Knowledge without discipline destroys civilizations. Earth learned this lesson. Many of you have not. Her words resonated deeper than threats. They struck the council where it was most vulnerable, its illusion of superiority. Vorkol attempted to reclaim authority. The council will not accept Terran dominance. Lyra's response was unflinching. We do not seek dominance. Only respect. The next move is yours. Delegates exchanged uncertain glances. A reshaped political landscape unfolded before them, a galaxy in which Earth was no longer a fledgling power but something more profound. Something uncomfortably beyond comparison. Meanwhile, aboard Aegis Halo, officers monitored the pulse as its wave dissipated. Systems recalibrated. Fleets returned to neutral stance. The border stabilized into quiet equilibrium. Aaron approached Lyra. Their entire operation collapsed without a single casualty. We didn't just stop a war, we prevented one. Lyra exhaled slowly. Relief flickered across her expression, not joy, not victory, but the release of a burden no one else could carry. They will reconsider their assumptions now, she said. Aaron nodded. What comes next? A realignment, she answered. Diplomats will spin narratives. Military branches will reassess their doctrines. Scholars will question everything they believed about Terran limitations. And Vorkol? Aaron asked. Lyra's gaze drifted to the distant stars. History will decide his fate long before he does. In the council chamber, delegates already called for investigations. Vorkol faced demands for accountability. His authority crumbled under collective scrutiny. As Lyra's projection faded, her final words lingered. Let this be the moment you understand, Earth will not kneel, Earth will not falter, and Earth will not warn twice. The broadcast dissolved. A stillness settled across the galactic order, a pause carried not by fear, but by overdue recognition. The Axiom Pulse had shifted the equilibrium without a single beam fired. No explosions marked its use. No ruins remained. Only the undeniable truth that humanity's restraint was deliberate, not forced. In the quiet after the pulse, the galaxy re-evaluated every assumption it held about the species from a once-overlooked blue world. And for the first time in generations, the aftermath of the Axiom Pulse rippled through the galaxy like a silent shockwave, reshaping conversation, policy, and fear in equal measure. Hours after the pulse neutralized the Council's strike fleets, the Galactic Council spire glowed dimly above Heliox 9. Inside, the chamber felt heavier than it had during any crisis in its long history. Delegates murmured in fractured tones, astonishment, confusion, and quiet dread mixing like incompatible currents. Commander Lyra Hale's projection had faded, but her words remained suspended in the minds of all who heard them. Those words had not been shouted. They had carried no arrogance. And that made them even harder to dismiss. Strategist Vorkol stood isolated at the center of the chamber, confronted by the entire council. His once commanding stature seemed diminished, shoulders tense, jaw clenched. Dozens of representatives stared down at him with expressions ranging from disbelief to barely veiled resentment. A Lyric's collective delegate finally spoke, her wings shivering with agitation. "You assured us the suppressor arrays were safe. You assured us the humans exaggerated. The evidence now disproves every claim you made." Vorkol's voice cracked with strain. "Earth must have manipulated." "Enough," interrupted a crystalline elder, the same one who had sensed danger during Lyra's warning. "The humans did not attack us. They disabled our weapons and left our crews unharmed. That requires precision beyond anything in our archives." A third delegate added, "And they offered restraint before action. You offered only escalation." Vorkol's fury flared. "You're all afraid of them." A harsh silence followed. It was true. Not fear of annihilation, fear of misunderstanding a species that had matured outside the Council's assumptions. The elder rose from his seat. "Strategist Vorkol, by majority decision, your authority is suspended pending full investigation. You will relinquish command until further review." Gasps spread among delegates, but no one challenged the motion. Vorkol stiffened, realization slamming into him like a collapsing star. "You cannot remove me for a miscalculation." The elder's voice remained steady. "We can remove you for jeopardizing our entire structure of diplomacy to chase dominance over a species you underestimated." Council guards approached. Vorkol's glare turned toward the fading echo of Lyra's projection, as if blaming her for the consequences he brought upon himself. But even he couldn't deny it, the galaxy had seen the limits of his influence. Without resistance, he surrendered. As he was escorted from the hall, whispers rose. "Earth changed everything. We should have listened. This is a new era." For the first time in centuries, the Council acknowledged it had no full understanding of Terran capabilities. And that admission alone shifted the universal balance. On Aegis Halo, Lyra Hale stood beside the main viewport again, watching Earth's light shimmer below. A calm followed the pulse, unnerving in its stillness. Officers reviewed ship diagnostics, ensuring no residual distortion remained. Some spoke in hushed tones about the Council's reaction, but none knew what direction the future would take. Aaron approached with a data slate. "Preliminary reports from our observers indicate Vorkol has been relieved of command. The Council is in complete disarray." "Expected," Lyra said. "They didn't see it coming," Aaron added. "For once, the fear wasn't directed at us. It was directed inward." Lyra didn't show satisfaction. "They created the crisis. The pulse merely forced them to face it." Aaron hesitated before speaking again. "Lyra, the fleet wants to know what happens next. They trust your judgment, but they're uncertain. Every species is watching us now." "That was always going to happen," she replied. "They feared what we might become. Now they fear what they misjudged. There's a difference." Aaron nodded slowly. "You think they'll approach us diplomatically?" "They have no choice," Lyra said. Fear can destabilize, but respect can rebuild. A soft alert chimed. Lyra turned as a communications officer stepped forward. "Commander, incoming transmission from the Council. They request a secure direct line. Highest diplomatic priority." Aaron raised an eyebrow. "That was faster than I expected." Lyra gestured for the channel to open. A holographic projection formed, the crystalline elder, surrounded by several representatives who now carried the expression of weary humility. The elder inclined his head. "Commander Hale. The Council wishes to address today's events with clarity and accountability." Lyra maintained a measured tone. "I'm listening." "First," the elder began, "we acknowledge the breach of treaty and the unjustified deployment of gravitic suppression. Earth acted with restraint under circumstances that would have provoked catastrophic retaliation from most civilizations." Several delegates nodded, though embarrassment tinged their movements. The elder continued, "We seek to re-establish diplomatic equilibrium with Earth. We request dialogue to determine how best to proceed without aggravating the balance you preserved." Lyra considered her response carefully. "Earth does not demand punishment. But we require transparency. These actions cannot be repeated." "They will not," the elder said firmly. "Vorkol acted without consensus or caution. His influence will not return." Lyra stepped closer to the projection. "Then understand this clearly, Earth will never initiate conflict. But neither will we bend to coercion. If you treat us as equals, this alliance will stand. If you revert to intimidation, the pulse will become unnecessary." A collective shiver passed across the delegates. Not from threat, because Lyra had not issued one, but from realization that humanity's restraint held more weight than any weapon. The elder bowed his head. "Then let this be the moment the Council begins its correction." Lyra inclined hers in return. "Then let this be the moment Earth accepts partnership, not subjugation." The delegates released a breath none realized they were holding. The projection dissolved gently. Aaron leaned against the console. "You didn't threaten them. You simply stated the truth." "Threats are for those who need to demonstrate power," Lyra replied. "We have nothing to prove." A quiet settled around them. Aaron asked, "Do you think this will last?" Lyra gazed down at Earth, its oceans reflecting the sunlight like shifting mirrors. "Stability is earned one decision at a time. Today was one. Tomorrow will demand another. But the Council understands us now. That's more than we had yesterday." Aaron smirked. "Humanity reshaped the galaxy." "No," Lyra corrected softly. "Humanity showed the galaxy what strength looks like when paired with purpose." The command deck lights dimmed to standard illumination as the final pulse harmonics faded completely. Earth's fleets returned to routine positions. The galaxy waited, uncertain but attentive. As Lyra stepped away from the viewport, she glanced once more at the stars, no longer distant threats, but the beginning of a new relationship between humanity and those who once doubted it. A new equilibrium had formed. Not through conquest. Not through fear. Through clarity. And for the first time in a long time,